Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is now part 7 of this series of videos, probably my longest series of videos for everything I've ever done on this channel. So I will try to avoid doing something this long in the past. I'll try to make sure I won't be this long just because, I was in recovery for so long and, I had to finally catch up on some films that I've seen for you guys and wanted to talk about with you. So for this next film on the list, it's actually something that I really, really enjoyed. I don't know if I'd call it the best film I've seen over the course of my recovery, but it's definitely something that I want to make sure you guys know about in case it is still on Netflix at the time that this video is posted, or in case another streaming service has it for you guys to watch on your own time for the first time if you're interested in seeing this film. And that's The Edge of 17. This film came out in 2016. I think the reason why I didn't see this film until so late as I did is because this film came out the same opening weekend as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And I think the fact that that was such a big film and it was kind of the return to the Harry Potter universe at the time, I think prevented a lot of people from seeing this movie. And that's really too bad because The Edge of 17 is a very, very good movie, and I definitely am very excited to talk about it with you guys. Basically, what it's about is this girl. She feels very misunderstood. She doesn't have a lot of friends. And one day, out of the blue, while her mom's out of town, and she basically lost her dad a long time ago due to a tragedy in her life, she finds out the following morning after a sleepover with her friend, after this party kind of got out of hand, that she slept around with her brother, who's also in high school. And so basically, she's lost basically her only friend, and she's trying to get through high school, trying to kind of be understood by the adults and everything like that, kind of get the attention that she deserves. And nobody's really listening to her. Nobody wants to listen to her problems. This character played by Woody Harrelson, who I believe is her history teacher, is kind of one of the few people in her life that kind of sometimes listens to what she has to say about things. And so this movie's basically her figuring out what to do with her life, where to go next, now that she's lost basically her best friend by her, now seeing her brother and everything. Where does she go now that she's lost the dad? Where does she kind of go in a direction in her life? How does she find happiness again? All this is figured out over the course of The Edge of 17, starring the great Haley Steinfeld, who was in True Grit, the remake from the Coen brothers years back. So overall, guys, for my positives and negatives of The Edge of 17, it really does capture a very realistic take on teenagers and how they act and speak around other people. I think this film definitely took a lot of time to kind of observe teenagers with problems, put it onto film, figure out a way to kind of make you understand and relate to the characters in ways. Definitely feels like something that John Hughes would have wrote back in the day if he was still alive. It definitely has that problematic teenager vibe to it. It's definitely a high school film that I think John Hughes would have definitely have loved to have worked on if he was still alive today. And it does capture that realistic take on teenagers in this movie. The film depicts a very accurate sense of what kind of problems teenagers face, both in school and the real world. What do you do when you don't know how to talk to the guy you really like? What do you do when your friend cheats on you and you feel betrayed? And how do you move on and make new friends? And what do you do when you like a guy but you don't want to date him but you still want to hang out with him? And where do you go from there? What do you do? And so the film kind of depicts this very accurate sense of how teenagers handle problems, what kind of problems they face, what kind of problems never get resolved but are kind of continuously still faced in their lives and things like that. So the film just depicts all these things in a very accurate kind of way that really does kind of feel relatable, just because I remember as a teenager too, I faced a lot of problems too in my own life, and clearly this girl faced a lot of problems in her life too. So the film's dark sense of humor is really effective and funny here. There's definitely a lot of moments that definitely are laugh out loud kind of funny. It also has a dark sense of humor to it too, of what happens when you're kind of living with people that kind of don't understand you and they don't know that you want to go see that guy that you want to go on a date with and things like that. How do you handle that? And so the film's sense of humor and the way it's portrayed I thought was very effective here. The dramatic moments I thought were very well effective, and there's a lot of weight to them as well. There's just a lot of scenes where you really kind of understand the emotional weight that's happening in the scene of Haley Steinfeld character's not getting the guy, or her being friends with another guy, and not really ready to date that other guy, but wants to be friends with him, wants to stay close with him, and still trying to figure out a nice balance. Um, so all that stuff is very well handled in this movie. There's also tons of great performances all across the board in this film. Haley Steinfeld in particular was very, very good in this movie. Woody Harrelson is very, very good in this movie. The actress who played her best friend in this was very, very good here. All the performances are really, truly great here. I think Kira Sedgwick plays her mom too, and she's also very good in the movie. As a subtopic, the film depicts how social media can help you and both ruin your life at the same time, specifically in a teenager's life. Um, Without going into spoilers, there's just a scene that where Haley Steinfeld's character really wants to send this text to this guy, and it's really detailed and it's very specifically what she wants from this guy, and she's really not sure if she should send it or not. And when she does, she still kind of has regrets of, geez, how does that make me look as a person? So this just the idea of how social media can kind of help you reach out to people that maybe you can't approach very well in person very well, but it can also ruin your life if you do something or say something in social media that could either ruin your life or another person's life. And so I thought that aspect of the film was very effective here too. Some of the choices, and this is for my negatives for this movie, some of the choices in lighting really weren't very good. There's just a lot of scenes that take place at night or in a dark car, and it's just really hard to see what's going on in certain moments. So some of the lighting here wasn't anything special. But yeah, like I said, some of the scenes just happened in a dark room or dark environment. It's just kind of hard to see what's going on. And another negative I have with the movie is some of the character consequences don't really have any kind of a follow-up action to them. Like there's a scene where the lead character of the film steals her mom's car, and they kind of don't play off of it very much. It just kind of happens. The mom threatens to call the police, and there's really no consequence to it. The film kind of never returns to that consequence that the lead character of the film does at one scene to kind of make a point to her mom. So there's certain aspects of the movie where the consequences don't really have any kind of a follow-up, and some of these consequences I think really deserved a follow-up of some kind if it wants to keep that realistic take on the subject matter of the movie. So I would give The Edge of 17, though, a 9 out of 10. It really is a very, very good movie. Definitely a hidden gem. Definitely a film that deserves more attention. And definitely a film that I could easily have seen John Hughes taking on in real life if he was still alive in the 2010s, still making movies. The next film I saw on my recovery was The New Mutants. It was a 2020 X-Men film. I almost saw this film in theaters, but I figured with COVID still going strong at the time, I kind of just kept it to Tenet at the time, and I didn't really see another film in theaters until summer of 2021, really. And specifically with streaming offering a lot of new titles and everything like that, too. So I finally got around to see The New Mutants, and, I thought it was okay. Definitely not a film that I could see any kind of sequels for. Now that the Disney and Fox merger has happened, and this film is kind of stuck in the battle between Disney buying the rights to all the Fox properties and things like that, I definitely can't see them using characters like this for the MCU or anything like that. Didn't really leave much of an impact on me, but as far as my positives and negatives go for the New Mutants, certain mutant characters don't have their powers revealed right away, which can create a lot of suspense and mysterious actions for certain scenes in this movie. Some scenes suggest that certain places in the facility have no surveillance because they're stuck in this facility with their mutant powers. And so there's certain scenes where the characters feel like they're allowed to kind of break free and do more interesting things that kind of reveal certain things about them and their privacy. So I thought that aspect of the film was interesting because they feel like they have more privacy, so they're able to reveal more things about them and things like that. Some of the scenes do provide good suspense and maybe a couple of good scares every once in a while, specifically for a PG-13 rated film. Definitely the case here. There's definitely a good couple of scares within this facility. Definitely some good suspense built throughout the movies. For a PG-13 rating, they got away with quite a bit. Because I think the struggle with Disney and Fox at the time is Disney didn't really want it to be a horror film. Fox started the project as a horror film. Disney's like, no, let's kind of just keep this as a traditional X-Men film. While Fox was like, no, we already spent the money. We already allowed this director to kind of do his thing. Wants to make it more of a horror film. So there's definitely a clash there. But as far as putting the scares in and the suspense in for a PG-13 rated film, I thought they handled the material pretty well. But for my negatives of The New Mutants, though, it didn't really feel like an X-Men movie. Um, it's just not quite scary enough to be a standalone horror film either. So once again, going between the clashes of the studios while this film was in production, Disney wanted one film, 20th Century Fox wanted another, and the ideas just kind of clash a little bit. So like I said, it didn't really feel like an X-Men film, so Disney didn't really win there, and it wasn't scary enough to be a horror film, so 20th Century Fox really didn't get what they wanted out of the film either. So the film doesn't really accomplish anything as far as that goes. Another negative I have with the film is I never felt all that invested in the characters. There really isn't a specific character here that you really care about all that much, maybe besides the lead character who's found in a village early on in the movie, and this friend that she has a friendship slash relationship with in this facility. I mean, that was kind of interesting, I guess, but nobody I really felt super attached to or invested in as far as characters went. There's also not a lot of world building here, and this facility is never clear as to what exactly it specializes in. Is it just a place for unsure mutants to be studied? Is it just a place where they study mutants? Is it a place where mutants who are dangerous to society more specifically than other mutants get placed in? So there's just certain aspects of this facility where the world building isn't very clear and it's not done very well. And it's really just unclear throughout the runtime what exactly this facility is. And it's never really revealed at any point in the movie either. You could also tell that this film had a ton of production problems with its short runtime because it really was only about like an hour and 35 minutes, I think. There's just a lack of a definitive vision and direction, and there's just a shortage of flashbacks and character background details that really kind of keep the film from being great. So I would probably give The New Mutants 7.5 out of 10. It's an okay, passable film, but you can definitely see how there was a lot of production problems with this movie and why it got delayed as many times as it did. The next film on my list is Curly Sue. This is a film by John Hughes, and this was actually, I think, one of his last films as a director, I want to say, too. So in this film, though, it's about a homeless man and his stepdaughter. I don't think it's even his biological daughter. They kind of travel from place to place. They find ways to kind of scam people out of their money. And basically, over the course of this film, they do eventually have this accident that kind of goes a little too far. This woman basically allows this guy and his stepdaughter to live with her for a little while until they kind of resolve everything. And over the course of the film, they figure out what exactly to do with this little girl named Sue, and what direction they should take, how the homeless father can get a job, and they're basically trying to figure things out over the course of the film of what this homeless guy and his daughter, or stepdaughter, I should say, kind of how they can move forward with their life. But overall, for my positive negatives of Curly Sue, the adorable little girl was very effective in the lead role. They definitely hired a great child actress to play her. I think I did read somewhere online she didn't really find a lot of work after this movie because it really wasn't a big box office success or anything. Um, Natalie, no, not Natalie Portman. Allison Porter, I think her name is. There's some recent photos of her, what she looks like now, and everything. Unfortunately, she didn't really have much of a child actress career, but it's just really too bad because I thought she was very good in this movie. I thought the chemistry between the little girl and James Belushi in the two lead roles were very effective. They play off of each other very well. The film's musical score brings a lot of life to certain flashback scenes in the movie, so I thought that aspect was very good. The film also has a lot of charm to it throughout the runtime. Some scenes do contain good and sharp dialogue, especially for the two lead characters' back and forth banter moments. But for my negatives of Curly Sue, it just has a very unnecessary lawsuit subplot in the third act of the film. It almost felt like that the film felt like they needed a villain in it, and so they just kind of threw this one character together at one point in the story and just threw this whole lawsuit thing in there and just kind of created this major conflict that really didn't need to be in the movie. It's also not as comedy heavy as it should be. It definitely is one of John Hughes's lesser funny movies, so I don't know if he was trying to go for a more serious tone in this or not, but it doesn't feel as comedy heavy as most John Hughes productions are. It was trying to be. I also didn't know if it was trying to make a statement on the homeless or not. The film is really never clear on where it stands on that. There's moments that seem to support the fact that homeless people have a potential of some kind, while other scenes kind of show that homeless people can kind of get in the way with society and they kind of interfere with people's lives and things like that. So it really is kind of unclear as to whether John Hughes is supporting the homeless, making a statement about them, or just straight up not liking the homeless at all. So I thought that aspect of the film, as far as making a statement on that goes, really wasn't very effective here. The film is also unclear as to what kind of the point it's trying to make. Once again, I don't know exactly what the film is trying to go for here necessarily. And there's also a cartoony boyfriend character that shows up throughout the movie that just kind of clearly there to either make a laugh or just be annoying, and it just doesn't really work very well. One character I thought really could have been written out of the movie was this character here, the cartoony boyfriend. And once again, this is just really not a great John Hughes movie. Unfortunately, this is one of the last films that he did do as a director, and that's really too bad. I really think he had another great film inside of him before his passing. And unfortunately, Curly Sue was one of the last times we got to see him as a director. So I would probably give Curly Sue a 7.5 out of 10. It's an okay film, it's just not a great film. So I guess I'll see you guys back here for part 8 of what seems to be about 2 or 3 more films.